It prepares for a highly classified mission.
So this is 18,000 tons we're looking at here.
18,000 tons of American steel.
A nuclear-powered U.S. Navy guided missile submarine, 160 crew on board.
They call it the silent service for a reason.
That's right. All those missions are some of the most highly classified.
Picture this. You're standing on the deck of a ship in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Miles of water stretch in every direction. Calm, quiet, empty, or so it seems. Because right now, beneath your feet, something massive is passing by. A steel giant longer than a football field, heavier than a skyscraper, armed with enough firepower to change the course of a war, and you have no idea it's there. No radar picks up its shadow. No sonar catches its whisper. It moves through the crushing depths like it doesn't exist at all.
Sonar, sound navigation and ranging, is a device which is used to detect any object or animal in water.
This is the Virginia-class submarine, America's invisible hunter, a machine so advanced, so impossibly quiet, that it rewrote every rule of underwater warfare. But here's what will really blow your mind. How does something weighing millions of pounds just vanish? What technology makes the ocean itself forget it's there? And why are rival nations decades behind in catching up? Stay with us, because once you understand what's hiding in these steel shadows, you'll never look at the ocean the same way again. The birth of an invisible giant. When the Cold War collapsed, the United States Navy faced a question that would shape the future of underwater warfare.
The United States Navy helped secure victory in 2 world wars and the Cold War. Today, the Navy remains a formidable fighting force.
For decades, submarines had been built with one enemy in mind: the Soviet fleet. Massive boats designed to hunt massive targets in the deep Atlantic and Arctic waters. The Seawolf class had just emerged from the shipyards, a technological masterpiece capable of stalking any vessel in existence. But it came with a price that made admirals nervous. Nearly $3 billion per submarine. That kind of expense made sense when 2 superpowers stared at each other across an ideological divide. Without that threat, the logic crumbled. The Navy needed something different. Not just powerful, but versatile. Not just deep water capable, but able to slip into shallow coastal zones where future conflicts seemed more likely. They needed a submarine that could do almost everything the Seawolf could manage, but without bankrupting the defense budget. From this requirement, something remarkable took shape: the Virginia program.
Virginia is the first state in the nation to use state funds to deliver food assistance to SNAP customers.
Early in the design process, Navy planners made a decision that would define the entire class. Instead of awarding the contract to a single shipyard, they split the work between 2 legendary builders: Electric Boat in Groton, Connecticut, and Newport News Shipbuilding down in Virginia. Each yard would construct massive sections of every hull, then ship those pieces by barge for final assembly. This approach kept both workforces sharp, reduced risk if one facility encountered problems, and created a predictable production pipeline that could sustain itself year after year. Walk into Electric Boat's facility in Groton, and you witness something that looks more like precision manufacturing than traditional shipbuilding. But the heavy steel work begins farther north, at Quonset Point in Rhode Island. There, workers cut thick steel plates and roll them into enormous cylindrical sections. These rings form the pressure hull, the submarine's skeleton. While still open and accessible, crews install piping, pumps, tanks, and miles upon miles of cable. Everything possible goes in before the sections join together. Instead of crawling through cramped tubes trying to bolt equipment sideways, teams work on open floors with proper lighting and space. Later, finished rings rotate and connect like puzzle pieces, welded into a complete hull. This modular approach became one of the biggest reasons the Virginia program stayed affordable and on schedule. The Virginia class marked another first in submarine history. Every inch of it was designed entirely in 3 dimensions. No paper blueprints stacked on engineering desks. Designers built a single living digital model of the complete submarine, down to the smallest pipe run, cable tray, or valve handle. If two systems tried to occupy the same space, the conflict appeared immediately on screen, long before it became a welding nightmare in the yard. But perhaps the most revolutionary change happened inside the control room. Designers abandoned the traditional optical periscope entirely. Instead, they installed photonics masts.
We are already working on the next generation, our fourth generation of masts for the future programs.
Slim camera towers rising through the sail, but never piercing the pressure hull. Images travel down digitally on fiber optic lines, not through mirrors and glass. Inside the control room, this represents a complete transformation. Gone is the tiny view through a spinning tube. In its place, high-definition panoramic images project across wide screens. Even the hand controls evolved. The original mast used a heavy helicopter-style control stick that sailors found awkward. Someone suggested testing a standard game controller, simple, cheap, already familiar to most crew members. And it worked better. The Navy kept it. The contract arrived on September 30th, 1998. The keel was laid in Groton the following September. She touched water on August 16, 2003, and joined the fleet just over a year later on October 23, 2004, nearly 8 million kilograms of steel, 115 meters long. Capable of carrying a dozen missiles and close to 30 torpedoes, the USS Virginia had arrived. Inside the Silent Hunter. Deep within that steel hull beats a heart designed to last decades without stopping. A nuclear reactor that makes steam, and that steam turns turbines driving propulsion. But the Virginia class doesn't use a bare propeller spinning in the open water. Instead, it pushes water with a pump jet, a ringed fan hidden inside a duct. Think of it like a jet engine adapted for water. The flow becomes smoother. The blades shed fewer bubbles. The whole setup vibrates less. In submarine warfare, less vibration translates directly to less noise, and less noise determines who lives and who dies. Officially, the Navy acknowledges these boats can dive deeper than 800 feet and run faster than 25 knots, roughly 29 miles per hour. The exact top numbers remain classified. Somewhere in that gap between public statements and classified reality lies the true capability of these machines. In a submarine, sound defines everything. The first Virginia boats carried a large spherical sonar array right in the bow. Later hulls swapped that sphere for a large aperture bow array. A horseshoe-shaped water-backed sensor is easier to maintain and provides a cleaner acoustic picture. Along the hull's sides run wide aperture flank arrays, like two long ears giving the crew a tall, wide image of the ocean's noise. Under the bow sits a high-frequency chin array for close-in safety and mine detection. Together, these sensors let the crew pick tiny acoustic patterns from a noisy ocean and do it without advertising their own position. All that raw sound feeds into an open architecture brain. The Virginia's combat system was designed so the Navy can continuously drop in new processors and fresh code without tearing the entire ship apart. This allows the submarine to learn new tricks, fold in machine learning tools, and keep pace with evolving threats without spending months in a yard for rewiring. When the time comes to strike, Virginia uses a heavyweight weapon the crew trusts completely. The Mark 48 Advanced Capability Torpedo. The latest upgrade gave the weapon wideband digital sonar. It performs dramatically better in shallow water and can handle modern decoys. The torpedo launches on a wire, allowing the fire control team to guide it during the tricky beginning of the run. Then the weapon takes over and finishes the chase. Torpedoes represent only part of the offensive picture. From the beginning, Virginia boats carried land attack cruise missiles. Early hulls had 12 small vertical launch tubes in the bow for Tomahawks. Later production blocks moved to 2 large payload tubes up front, each size to hold 6 Tomahawks. The missile itself has a published range around 1,000 miles, and newer variants add smarter navigation and a maritime strike seeker for moving targets. This capability allows a single attack submarine to reach inland targets from far offshore with deadly precision. The largest step in strike power came with the Virginia Payload Module.
A little bit about the Virginia Payload Module. Obviously, the Virginia-class program is very, very important to the U.S. Navy.
On newer boats, the Navy inserts a mid-body section roughly 84 feet long inside that plugs 4 very large tubes, and each tube can hold 7 Tomahawks. That adds 28 missiles on top of whatever the bow tubes carry. The extra length pushes the boat to about 461 feet overall. What truly sets the class apart is how all those systems package for missions that must stay invisible. The torpedo room is flexible. It converts into berths so a platoon of special operators can live aboard with their gear. The submarine includes a lockout trunk, allowing divers to slip out and return underwater without the boat surfacing. The same tubes that fire torpedoes are also compatible with launching small unmanned undersea vehicles, robots that scout ahead, plant sensors, or take risky jobs so sailors don't have to. Each submarine sails with about 140 crew members, roughly 18 officers and the rest enlisted sailors, all packed inside a steel tube holding a nuclear reactor, a machine shop, and every system needed to live underwater for months. Inside the submarine, silence defines existence. Every pump sits on vibration mounts to stop noise from spreading through the hull. Bolts, panels, and cables are arranged so they don't rattle or hum. Even daily routines build around one goal: staying quiet. Down there, success means no one ever knew you were there at all. The legend that taught the lessons. Before the Virginia ever took sea trials, another class taught the Navy the lessons of silent hunting. The Los Angeles class was born in the early 1970s. The Cold War still heated the oceans, and the United States Navy wanted a new kind of hunter, one that could move fast, stay quiet, and disappear for months without being found. The first of its kind, USS Los Angeles, joined the fleet in November 1976. Over the next 20 years, the Navy built 62 of them. More than any other nuclear-powered attack class in American history, nearly a quarter-century of non-stop submarine building. Even the names marked a turning point. For most of the 20th century, American attack submarines carried names of sea creatures: sharks, barracudas, swordfish. But the Los Angeles boats changed that tradition. They were named after cities: Los Angeles, Boston, Dallas, Miami. Admiral Hyman Rickover, often called the father of the nuclear navy, pushed that change with one blunt line: fish don't vote. Each one measured roughly 360 feet long and displaced close to 7,000 tons underwater. At the core of every Los Angeles submarine sat a nuclear pressurized water reactor, turning steam into power and giving the ship almost unlimited range. The crew could stay at sea for months. The only real limit was food. The class arrived in waves, which the Navy calls flights. Each flight added new capabilities while keeping the same core mission: find, track, and if needed, destroy the original design set the foundation. Each submarine carried 4 torpedo tubes up front, built to launch heavyweight torpedoes. Their main weapon was the Mark 48 torpedo. Over the years, that same weapon received new sensors and software, making it sharper without ever changing its body. Later versions changed everything visually. The Navy added 12 vertical launch tubes into the bow. Suddenly, a submarine didn't have to use its torpedo tubes for cruise missiles. It could fire Tomahawks straight up and out. When the Gulf War began in 1991, Los Angeles-class submarines were among the first platforms to launch Tomahawk missiles. They fired from hundreds of miles away, striking precise targets on land without ever being seen. The final generation, the improved Los Angeles boats, were heavily upgraded. Engineers shifted the diving planes from the sail to the bow and made them retractable so the submarines could operate under Arctic ice inside. Machinery was isolated better to cut noise, and the combat system was modernized. Together, these changes made the class far tougher and quieter. Life on board was intense and tightly packed. A typical crew had around 140 people in total. An entire neighborhood living inside a machine the length of a city block. These were boats built before digital command rooms and panoramic camera masts. Sailors looked through a real periscope, read dials and gauges, plotted contacts on paper charts. The control room was hot, loud, and claustrophobic. But the crews were some of the most disciplined in the Navy. By the mid-2000s, the earliest Los Angeles boats were reaching the end of their service lives. But the class didn't fade away. As of 2025, about 23 Los Angeles-class submarines remain active, forming a major part of America's attack submarine fleet alongside newer Virginia boats.
We approach the USS Florida in the eastern Mediterranean as it prepares for a highly classified mission.
So this is 18,000 tons we're looking at here.
Now, imagine a submarine designed for the toughest missions of the 2040s. The next American attack submarine has one ambitious goal: to do everything the Navy's ever wanted in one boat. It needs to move like a sprinter, hit hard like a heavyweight, stay silent, and spend more time at sea than any submarine before it. That dream has a name: SSNX. Think of it as the Navy's ultimate hunter. They want the raw speed and firepower of the old Seawolf class, the quiet and high-tech sensors of the Virginia class, and the long-lasting reliability of the Columbia submarines, all packed into one design. Right now, it remains in the design stage, not yet a real boat sitting in a shipyard. The Navy initially planned to start building in the mid-2030s, but that timeline shifted to around 2040. The delay isn't because the program's in trouble. It's about money and shipyard space. The Navy is already busy building Columbia and Virginia class boats. What we know is that SSNX will be bigger than the Virginia class and possibly even larger than the Seawolf. It's expected to weigh around 10,000 tons underwater. The Navy estimates about $7 billion per submarine. Others suggest it could end up closer to $9 billion. Either way, we're talking about one of the most expensive submarines ever built. So what makes this boat different? The Navy wants SSNX to accomplish 4 things no attack submarine has ever done together. First, it has to move fast and stay quiet while doing it. Normally, speed and silence don't mix, but the goal here is making it fast enough to chase or escape anything while still hiding its noise in the natural sounds of the sea. Second, it needs to carry significantly more firepower. That means a bigger torpedo room, more launch tubes, and larger spaces for missiles. Not just today's weapons, but the ones coming in the future. Third, it has to work with uncrewed underwater vehicles, robot submarines. These small drones will scout ahead, check out dangerous areas, and even drop decoys or sensors while the main submarine stays hidden in the distance. And fourth, it needs to spend far more time ready for action. That means less time sitting in a shipyard for repairs and more time out on missions. To make that happen, the Navy is focusing on simpler maintenance, better materials, and a layout that makes fixing things faster. SSN, open parenthesis, X, close parenthesis, isn't just built to hide. It's built to control the underwater fight. There's a reason they're planning for large-diameter launchers. Other American ships are being updated to fire hypersonic weapons, missiles that fly several times faster than sound. SSNX is being designed from the start to use those same launchers. So when those weapons are ready, this submarine won't need a major rebuild. Another huge leap is how it'll handle information. The Navy wants this submarine to receive real-time data from other ships, aircraft, satellites, and even drones, all while staying deep underwater and moving fast. That means better antennas, faster computers, and an open software setup that can be updated over time. In short, they're designing SSNX like a system that can grow and adapt, not something that goes obsolete after a few years. The real challenge is ensuring it doesn't become too ambitious. The Navy learned from past programs that trying to do everything at once can explode costs. So this time, they're keeping the focus tight. The oceans are changing fast. Rival countries are filling them with sensors, sonar networks, and drones that can spot even the faintest noise. Aircraft now carry better detectors. Hiding forever isn't enough anymore. The Navy needs submarines that can outsmart the sensors, not just dive deeper. That's where SSNX comes in. And it's not replacing the Virginia class anytime soon. The Virginia will continue cutting silently through the world's oceans for decades, remaining the trusted workhorse of the U.S. Navy. But when SSNX finally slips beneath the waves in the 2040s, it won't just introduce new technology, it will open a new chapter in a saga that started generations ago. A saga built on steel, silence, and shadows. A story shaped by machines designed to move through the deepest darkness, unseen, unheard, and unmatched in their purpose. Right now, somewhere far below the surface, a Virginia-class submarine is drifting through pitch-black water. Its crew doesn't know you're picturing them in that cold, endless vastness. They focus entirely on their duty, stay silent, stay hidden, stay prepared for the moment the world needs them. They train for hours on end, trusting that secrecy is their greatest weapon. And in that silence inside that invisible world lies a kind of power that didn't just influence warfare, it transformed it forever. If this journey into the deep captured your imagination, if it made you look at the ocean as something far more mysterious than a blue horizon, then hit that like button and subscribe. Because there are even more mind-bending stories waiting just beneath the surface. And trust me, what's coming next will change the way you think about the ocean all over again, revealing secrets hidden far beyond anything the world expects, pushing your curiosity into depths you never imagined exploring before.